Welcome to Prophetic Nights. Today is a very interesting, I would actually say, hot topic that a lot of people are struggling with because they don't understand. So the title for today's message is Moses, a stick and a stutter, unlocking your supernatural talents. Let's jump right in. So I just want to lay a foundation before I begin. Many people come to me and say, Prophet, I need more money. What is it that I must learn or do, or how can I make more money? Or I'm not happy. I don't know if I'm walking my call or plan and purpose of God in my life, or I'm struggling. What is that about? And so we have to understand our journey begins with God, the giver of the gifts. Now I'm going to give a testimony and an explanation how it pulls all together at the end. So just bear with me as we go through the information. God is the giver of the gifts. James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. What does that mean? God not only gave us spiritual gifts, He gave us physical abilities and talents that are different for every person. And it does not change like shifting shadows. So in other words, when God gives us a gift, it's without repentance. He doesn't ask it back. Once it's been given to us, it is ours. And many of us don't realize that our ability and talent to do well in a certain area also comes from God. Some people have the gift of discipline. They can get up at 3 in the morning and pray and read the Bible and then go to gym and then go to work. And they can do that every day. Unfortunately, I don't have the gift of discipline. Some have the gift of athleticism, and they're just good at sports. It's so natural to them. They win every race and they compete in the Olympics and they win gold medals, where you, when you try to compare yourself to them, fall short of the mark. And so maybe you didn't receive that gift, but all of us receive gifts from God to help us with our destiny on the earth. Okay, right. Romans 12:3-8 says, For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought. Why is this important? Well, some people are good in their gift because it's where God gifted them. They're good in the area of their life. Some people, for example, have the gift of discipline. And so they are good in the area of discipline. And so when it comes to discipline, they may have a high think of themselves, wondering why other people can't apply that discipline and why they are lacking, because they fail to realize they've been gifted in that area. So it's easier for them than for others, and they do better than others. And so Paul starts off by saying, do not think yourself more highly than you ought, especially in your giftings. Some people have the gift to make money, and it goes to their head and they become a snob. And they think they are good at making money, but it's actually the gift of God on their life to produce that money. And so they think highly of themselves, not realizing that God gave the gift. Some people have mathematical capability. They can become chartered accountants. Others make good lawyers because they can argue well. And so all of us have different gifts. The problem that most people make is they don't understand that that gifting for that talent in their life comes from God. God is a gentleman. When He gives it to us, He doesn't make it obvious saying, I'm the reason you're doing well. I'm the one that gave this to you. No, He gives you the gift and lets you run with it. So I've met many people, and especially in their gifting, that is where they are strong. And especially in their gifting, they think they're the ones that are doing it. It's not quite true. It's because God graced you in that area. So Paul starts off by saying, don't think more of yourself than you ought, because all of us have different gifts. A plumber cannot be a heart surgeon. A heart surgeon cannot be a car mechanic. We all have different gifts. And so we shouldn't think we are more inferior, but rather think of yourself sober judgment in accordance with the faith as God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us are one body with many members, the arm and a leg and a nose and a toe, and these members do not have the same function, you might think the face is more important because that's what everybody sees and that does the talking. But let me tell you, if you've got no toes on your feet, you're going to have great difficulty walking. If you have no fingers on your hands, you won't be able to do anything. If you don't have a digestive system, you will die because no nutrition. And so some parts may not look as desirable as others, but it forms a body and each part is important. And each member belongs to all the others. Why? The hand cannot be chopped off and run and go do things on its own. It needs to be connected to the arm, which is connected to the shoulder. So if the body is working together, that's when everybody belongs. But here he goes on explaining, we have different gifts according to the grace given to us. If your gift is to prophesy, then prophesy according to your faith. If it is to serve, then serve. If it is to teach, then teach. It's to encourage, then give encouragement. If it's the gift of giving, give generously. If it is to lead, lead diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Now he runs a wide gauntlet of different gifts. In other words, he's not just talking about spiritual gifts. He's talking about physical gifts, talents. For example, leading. Leading is maybe not a spiritual gift, but it is a gift nonetheless on the earth, a talent and an ability. And so we have different gifts. Yes, God is the giver of the gifts, but we have different gifts. Not all of us have the same gifts. What does that mean? I'm here to shock you today. Not all of us can become a doctor. Not all of us can become a lawyer. Not all of us can become a plumber, a candlestick maker, or a baker. If you have been given that gift, then you can persevere and it can become easy for you. But if you've not been given that gift, you are going to struggle. So we have different gifts, and I shouldn't be desiring other people's gifts. I should be looking and focusing on what God gave us. And I should not be thinking that I'm better than anybody else in a certain area where I am strong just because the other person cannot do it, because maybe he didn't receive that gift. And so remember that when you interact with other people and show them mercy. Your strong point is your gift. It might not be their gift. And so always understand that you are only strong in that point because God graced you. What if he would have taken it away? Right, let's continue. So God has prepared unique gifts and plans for each of us. Paul says we have different gifts, so it's unique. Ephesians 2:10 says we are God's masterpiece. He created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do good things he planned for us long ago. So we have been given good things, good gifts, that we can do good things he planned for us. So we might as well say our gifts equip us for the calling and the plan that God has purposed for us. 1 Peter 4:10 says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve one another as faithful students of God's grace in various forms. It doesn't say each of you should desire the gift you want the most from somebody else and then covet that and try to obtain that to serve others. True. It's very simple. God says he gave us gifts. He says he gave us different gifts as we all are unique. And the gifts we received is for the plan that he has for us. And what we received, we must use to fulfill the plan, not desiring something else. 1 Corinthians 12:5-6 says, there are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone is the same God at work. So God has orchestrated from the beginning that you have a plan and a purpose that only you can fulfill on the earth, no one else. And to achieve that plan and to fulfill that calling, God gave you gifts to match that plan. But the problem is we don't identify with the gifts that we have because we take it for granted. And then we start coveting other people's gifts, thinking, well, maybe if I can trade gold on the stock exchange, I can become a millionaire overnight. or I want to be a doctor because the lifestyle looks pleasing to me. But 1 Peter 4:10 says, you should use the gifts that you receive. So if you are going to pursue something, make sure that it falls in line with the gifting that you received from God. This is very important. Why? Well, because the gifts are the tools that God graced you with for you to achieve the plan and purpose that He has for you. So if you are not operating in the gifts that you have received, you are not going to achieve the plan that God has for you. In fact, you will now be swimming in somebody else's swim lane, trying to run their race and not your own swim lane and your own race. Very important. So, finding your gift. Now that you understand that you have gifts and talents and abilities that are unique to you, and those gifts and talents and ability will help you fulfill the call of God in your life, and that you must look at your own gifts, not other people. How do you determine what are your giftings? Exodus 4:2, then the Lord said to him, Moses, what is that in your hand? A staff, he replied. So the only thing that Moses had was a stick and a stutter.
So true.
And he said to God, I cannot fulfill the call that you have for me. I am not good enough. I cannot be your chosen instrument. And he made a long list of excuses how he didn't have the ability and the gifting and the training and the qualifications to do what God wanted him to do. So God said to him, what is in your hand? And he said, well, I have a stick. And God said, that is enough. I just want to spend some time here. If you are meant to be a mechanic working on cars, but you desire to be a lawyer or a doctor because you think they can earn more money, you are making a very big mistake. If God gifted you to be a mechanic, and that is your gift, and you focus on that gift can bring extraordinary wealth when you partner with God. You have to understand the talent that God gave you, the thing that is in your hand, the thing that you are good at, will produce the wealth, will help you to walk your destiny, and will bring you fulfillment. You cannot go and exchange it or try to take another talent that somebody else has and now you desire to operate with it. It's not the superiority of the talent that produces the wealth. It is when you partner with what God put in your hand, that He puts His super on your natural, that you pull the wealth and the fulfillment and walking your plan from heaven into the earth. Time and time again, it's proved in the Bible, you don't need to change the staff for a golden rod. God can use a stick if that is what He gave you. And so the first step for you to unlocking your future, producing wealth, and being happy here on the earth is that you must understand what is in your hand is good enough. And it's not going to help you to try and exchange it for a better talent or a better gift or a better ability, because it's not natural to you and it's going to be frustrating. It won't work for you. It's not cut for your personality. It's cut for something else. And it's a lie from the devil that says, if I'm producing nothing and I feel like I'm stupid and struggling, I must go look at somebody successful, desire their gift and their talent, and then I will be successful. So a lie from the pit of hell is that you must change. If you only have a stick in your hand, you must change the stick for something better before you will succeed. You must remember one fundamental principle. God does not make mistakes. And so the talents that you were blessed with are not a mistake. And you are not a mistake. And God calls everyone blessed and wants prosperity and happiness and fulfillment for us. And so the talents that He's given you is everything that you need to step into your future. So don't throw the stick away that's in your hand just because it's a stick. You might want to try and pick up something else, but you will never truly master it because you've not been gifted for it. So what is your gift? Your gift is the thing that is already in your hand. The natural ability that you were born with, the gifts and talents that comes natural to you, which will fit like a glove on a hand, as it's made only for your hand. And your gift is what makes you come alive. What do I mean with that? Some boys growing up being a petrol head, they just love everything about a motor and a car. They want to work. They work on their bike, and then they work on their bicycle and take it apart and put it back together. Then later on, as they get older, they get a bike and they take it apart and put it back together. And later on, they get their first car, which is a piece of scrap that the motor has to be rebuilt, and they gladly make a project of that, and they totally rebuild the motor and have a beautiful car. And then they can sell the car that's been restored for a lot of money. But it's the natural gifting of mechanics and working of engines and the attraction to that. And they come alive doing it. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like it's an enjoyable pastime. It's actually a stress reliever for them. It doesn't cause stress. Now, all of us have this area in our lives. Something that we are naturally gifted for, that we enjoy doing, that we can do non-stop without breaks and without taking holidays and without time off for good behavior, where we love it so much that we want to do it all the time. Well, those are good indicators for you to discover your gifts. Look at my life, for example. I got my first computer in grade 12. In February of grade 12. February, it was a birthday gift. It was a piece of junk. It broke all the time. In 2 months' time, I had learned everything there was to know about computers, because every single component had broken and had to be replaced. Sure. So it was basically a brand new computer again. Sure. But I noticed something interesting. I wasn't phoning people anymore. They were phoning me. And I seemed to just know all the answers. It's like a fish in water. It came natural to me. Where other people said, I don't understand this. This thing is so difficult. You know, back in 1995, not a lot of people had computers. They were saying, this is frustrating and complicated, and I don't know how nothing works. And what is this mouse? And for me, it was like breathing air. I didn't have to study. It just came natural. I couldn't leave it alone. I was fixing everybody's computers. Now, I made a lot of money in grade 12 fixing everybody's computers and selling computers. Wow. It was just natural for me. My father said, I don't understand this. He bought himself a computer years later. He still can't operate it. It was not his gifting. My father is a brilliant engineer, brilliant in math. He does calculus like it's the crossword puzzle. I tried doing that. I couldn't. He tried doing computers. He couldn't. Why? He was gifted for engineering and mathematics. I was gifted for computers. And so your gift is the thing that is already in your hand. You were born with it. It's your strength. It comes naturally to you, and you come alive when you do it. Now, if you are 20, 30 years old and you don't know what that is yet, that's a problem. All of us in the first 20 years of our life should identify, what do we like? What are we good at? Do you enjoy nature? Do you enjoy books? Do you enjoy numbers? Do you enjoy studying? You should be knowing what your natural gift is. Very simple. Now, if you don't know, something that can point you in the right direction is the Gallup Strengths Finders. It's very good. I suggest that you get that and apply it to your life. So, finding your gift. The Japanese have a word called ikigai. Now, that's not an ikigai from the 80s that's looks like a punk standing by the rubbish bin trying to mug you as you come out from the store. No. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that combines two words, iki, meaning alive or life, and gai, meaning benefit or worth. Now, I don't know if they understood the Christian principle that God gave us all gifts, and that when we find our gift, we unlock our life. But they've been spending a lot of time about, what do you do that causes stress? And what do you do that does not cause stress? And what do you do that makes you excel and do it better than the rest? Or what pulls you backwards that you just can't get ahead of the pack, that you feel like you are falling behind? And And they are great philosophers. They spent lifetimes, centuries debating this. And they realized that when you combine ikigai, the two terms that give your purpose life worth, meaning, or purpose, you find how to unlock your potential, but also to be happy about it. And so they say, when you find your ikigai, in other words, well, that is their word for it, but we actually know it's God's given talents, God's given abilities on my life that is unique to me, that doesn't pertain to anybody else. They know and have discovered that when you find that, you find happiness, fulfillment, and purpose. Why? Because you step into the slipstream where God has given you. When we have the ability to learn and master anything. We may not be good at it, and it may take a long time, our entire lives. But when we step into what God has purposed, and it may be difficult, and it may even cause you stress or make you unhappy, and you may have no enjoyment. You might be doing it by force, but it's not a good environment. But when you find your ikigai, your God-created talents and giftings, and you start operating in that, it's like stepping in a slipstream where the current takes you, and you are able to do it effortless. You are able to do it longer than others. To you, it brings enjoyment and satisfaction, where to others, it feels like stress and effort. What is a slipstream? If a car is driving in front of you and you're driving close behind the car in front of you breaks the wind barrier and creates a slipstream that spills over the car. So if you drive close enough to the car, you are not having to break the wind. You are in that car slipstream, so it's easier for you to go. You use less petrol and energy. Some people may have heard it's like stepping into the river, and the river just takes you. So you don't have to swim and exert your effort. Well, when you find your godly gift, your ikigai, your talents, and your giftings and ability that God created you with, then you unlock happiness, fulfillment, and purpose. It will come to you naturally. It will energize you instead of draining you. And so these are keys for you to discover what you like. If you had to make me do administration, and I have to do that 9 hours a day, every day, day in, day out, Monday to Friday, probably after a year or two, I will be finished, because I hate administration. I'm good at it, but I don't like it. It doesn't come naturally to me. But if you have to ask me to create a new website or a new app, man, I can be up at 6 a.m. and work until 1 in the morning, and I can do that every night without any breaks, without any compensation. I will be energized. I will be friendly. People will say, what are you drinking? Are you taking something? You sound too happy. Because that's my gift.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand, if you operate in somebody else's gift that was never given to you, you are not going to have the energy. You're going to feel drained. You're going to feel despondent, eventually depressed and oppressed. And so don't desire giftings that are not meant to be yours. And discover the giftings that are yours, so that the power, the ikigai inside of it can unlock, that you can have happiness, purpose, fulfillment, energy, that you step into the river, that the river takes you, that you step into the slipstream where it becomes effortless. So if you are not made for something and you try to do it, the bottom line is you are going to get hurt.
Yes.
You can, there's nothing stopping you or forcing you, but you will have stress. You won't do it well. You'll fall behind the pack. With great exertion and force and determination, will you be able to do it, but it will be detrimental. There will be no joy. And so our gifts and talents align with God's purpose for our life. Exodus 31, 3-5. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold and silver and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in woods, and to encourage all kinds of crafts. So Here, God was talking about a craftsman, and he explained that he gifted that craftsman to be a craftsman, not a musician, not a hunter, not a leader. He was gifted to do the designs of gold, silver, and bronze, set stones, work with wood, and engage all kinds of crafts. So here we see God wanted this person to craft gold, and he gifted them to do it. And so you must understand that it is very important for you to discover your gifts, because your gifts will help you understand the plan and purpose for your life. Just think about it. If you don't like singing and playing music, don't try to make godly music. If you don't like spending time with people, maybe you are not an evangelist, maybe you are an administrator. You can force yourself to spend time with people, but you're not going to do it well. You will never enter the slipstream. You will never enter the river, and the river will not take you. So let this be a lesson. When I discover my gifts and talents, I start unlocking God's plan for my life. The opposite is also true. When I discover God's plan for my life, I start unlocking my gifts and talents. So this is something that you must meditate, because nobody else can help you. You must discover this for yourself. If I am tasked by God to work with gold and silver and bronze, if that's God's plan for my life, then I must know God's gifts and talents of my life, these crafts. Yeah. So can you see, if you know the plan and purpose that God called you for, what your giftings are, it must interlink. Or the opposite is also true. If I like working with gold and silver and bronze and stones and wood and engagements of all kinds, engravings, I must understand that God has probably planned crafts for my life, and that it's God's plan and purpose in some way. And so your gifts and talents aligns and links up with God's plan for your life. And so that is why you must not make the mistake picking up a gift and ability and a talent that God didn't give you, because you may malalign the plan of God on your life, or you may never walk the plan of God in your life. If you were never meant to be a mechanic, you were meant to be a plumber, but you desired the mechanic skill, and that's what you focused on, and now you've become a mechanic, even though you're a grumpy one, because it feels like hard work. Yeah. You're never going to be the plumber that God wanted you to be. Sure. So do you see how important it is to embrace the gift that God has put in your hand? I also just like to warn you, God will not bless what he did not give. Yes. So if you let the stick go to pick up something else, thinking that that is going to unlock your future and that God will put his stamp of approval on it, it doesn't work like that. God only operates in what he gave. And so a lot of people say to me, I'm talented, I'm intelligent, why is it not working for me? Because they've malaligned somebody else's gifts and talents that they desired onto their life. We are strongest in our God-given talents. And so we must understand, when we choose to operate in what God has gifted us, we are at our strongest, we are at our best, because our gifting is not only tailor-made for the plan and purpose that God has for us, it is tailor-made for our personality. This is because not only do we have the ability to understand and operate effortlessly in that area, but God partners with us and he helps us as if we're stepping into a river. And so you may choose your own giftings and talents, but God knows that he doesn't make mistakes. You are absolutely perfectly equipped for the plan and purpose that he has for you on this earth. And so if you then decide to pick other giftings, you are telling God, you don't know what you are doing, and I don't want to walk your plan. And God's not going to help you. God doesn't make mistakes. So you are perfectly equipped, perfectly gifted with talents. And if you walk in them, God will partner with you as if a slipstream, or when you step into the river and the river takes you. And so Many people say, why am I not good at this? Why are other people brilliant in this area and I'm struggling? Well, that is not your gift and talent. They are strong because they are operating in their gift and talent. You are weak because you're not operating in your gift and talent. That's something to remember. You know, I don't know about you, but I like the path of least resistance. I don't like banging my head. I don't like drama. I don't like pain. And so I've learned to focus in my life on my strengths. And when I'm not strong in the area and I need help, I ask somebody. My wife is very good with administration. She tells me I'm brilliant. I'd rather go for a root canal. I just don't like it. It causes me stress. It causes me anxiety. And so I've learned I'm not strong in administration, but my wife is. So I let her do the administration and I do the technical things. So you have to understand God will only partner with you and help you with the gifts and talents that he gave you. Then very importantly, I've mentioned this before, but let's look at it. Do not desire other people's giftings because they look appealing. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant or ox or donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor, including his giftings and talents. What does anything mean in the original Greek? Well, it means anything, and that includes your neighbor's giftings and talents. Do not try to learn a new skill or talent just because it's appealing to you, or because your neighbor is doing it and doing it well, or you think that your gifting is inferior and their gifting is superior, and your gifting cannot make you money and their gifting can, and now you want to exchange what you've been given. Focus on what you're good at, the stick that's in your hand. When you try to exchange your gifting for somebody else, God steps out of this equation. It's not going to help you. But when you embrace the stick that God gave you, even though you think it's a stick, that is when you unlock prosperity and blessing and the plan of God. And so you may desire somebody else's gifting, but it's not going to unlock your life. Their gifting is to unlock their life. Your gifting is to unlock yours. And if you want to create wealth, if you want to be blessed, if you want to be fulfilled, if you want to operate in your ikigai, if you want to be energized and happy, not depressed and drained with stress, then you have to embrace the gifts that you have and not desire other people's talents. Many people are running around thinking they can learn a skill that will make them money and bring fulfillment, but we are all in our own swim lane. What does that mean? You see the swimmer on the left and the swimmer on the right. Each one of them have their own lane to the finish line. So you don't have to desire to be in somebody else's lane, and you don't have to worry that God will put somebody in your lane. You were created for your own unique purpose that only you can fulfill. The person next to you was created for another purpose that only they can fulfill. So you don't have to worry if you are going faster or slower than the person next to you. You just have to focus on finishing your own race.
Very good.
So most people do not understand that when they step out of their swim lane, they not only leave God's plan and purpose for their life, but they cannot now finish their own race. And so you're stepping out of God's given gifts into your life, into a life of pain and ministry, pain and misery when you join somebody's swim lane. That lane was never meant for you. Even if you go into somebody else's swim lane and you beat them and you reach the finishing line first, there's no prize, because that was not your race.
Yes.
That was not God's plan and purpose for your life. And so we must understand we shouldn't be jealous for other people. We must celebrate other people. Now, let me tell you a big key that will set you free today. This is very important. The other person that looks like they're swimming faster and making more money is not because they have a better talent. It's because they've embraced the talent that God gave and they've worked that talent. So for you, they've unlocked their life. They understood and identified the gift in their hand, and they're running with that gift, the stick. For you to do the same, It doesn't help keeping your eyes peeled on their progress and how they're doing and what they're doing to get there. You have to identify the gift, the stick that's in your hand. You have to embrace that and run with that and use that to unlock your own life. And so, how many of you take your front door key and put it in somebody else's door and expect it to unlock? It doesn't work like that. Each of us have our own unique key and a door that we must unlock. What is the thing that unlocks the door of your life? The open door that everybody's looking for is the giftings and the talents in your life. So other people's giftings and talents is not going to unlock your door. It unlocks their door. So when you see somebody doing well, that are successful, you have to realize it's not the talent or the ability that got them there. It is the fact that they understood their calling is unique, their door that they have to go through is unique, and that what they have, the stick in their hand, is what unlocks the door, and they embraced it. So if God did not gift you for something, it would be hard to do it. You will never truly master it, and it will bring you stress. You may be good at it, but compared to somebody else that's gifted, they will leave you in the dust. And they will enjoy it, and you will be miserable. So stay in your swim lane. God has given each of us our own unique destiny and plan that we can follow. We're our own fingerprint that doesn't match anybody else. God doesn't cookie cut it. Each of us have our own unique plan. There may be similarities, but if you study it out from end to beginning, there's no two people on earth that have the same calling. And so don't think, oh, you may be a doctor and there's another doctor. Now you want to do what that doctor does. Your plan is not the same. Even though you are swimming in the same direction, it's not the same lanes. It's not truly the same mixture of giftings and talents. There's always variety. We are our own unique fingerprint. So you have to stay in your own lane and not desire what the other people are doing or what they have. You have to focus on what God gave you and the giver of the gifts. You also don't have to be jealous of other people doing similar things that what you are doing, because you are not in competition with them. You are in competition with yourself. Paul said, I run my race, not the race. Each of us achieve the prize when we stay in our own swim lane and we reach the end. God will not allow me to swim in other lanes, and he will not allow others to swim in my lane. And that's the conclusion that everybody must make here today. You are gifted for your own lane, and if you focus on that, God will partner with you and you will reach the end. Amen. And so, how do I use my gifts to unlock my destiny? Well, this is just a condensed version. You can go read Matthew 25 on your own time. But the servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver, in other words, talents, giftings, and I've earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling the small amount, so now I'll give you more responsibility. Let's celebrate together. So, if you embrace the stick in your hand, the talents and giftings and abilities that were given to you, you're not focusing on other people, and you work your gifts and talents, the things that belong to you, God will put his glory on it, and you will increase and do better. My life is an example of that. I just started as somebody fixing computers in my room, but I ended up being a system engineer and an IT specialist at IBM because I focused on my talent and giftings. I didn't try to become a doctor. I didn't try to become a vet. I didn't try to become a chartered accountant. All the other things that people wanted to do in school that they thought would produce a stable income and make a lot of money. When I set out, nobody even knew that IT would pay well. Only the people that were die-hard about computers stepped into IT. It wasn't a job, it was a passion. But I kept on focusing on it because it was the only thing I was good at. And so over time, God increased my ability that he gave. He gave me more ability because I was practicing and owning it. And so for you to master and unlock your destiny, you have to master your gift by focusing on it so that God can increase the ability it has. So on its own, having the ability is not enough. You have to put the effort into practicing and mastering your gifts and talents. You can't just say, well, God gave me this gift and talent, so now it must just work. It's a partnership. God wants us to do our part. And our part is by working that gift and talent, like the servant in Matthew. Coincidentally, if you read the rest of Matthew, there was a servant that buried his talent in the sand. And so God came and took his gifting away. Do you really want God to come and take your talent and your gifting and your ability away so that you're left with nothing, that you're totally destitute? Well, it's something to think about. Proverbs 18:16, a gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great. So how many of you, I've heard this, people full of pride, I'm called for the nations, I'm called to presidents, I'm called to stand before kings and queens. And then when I look at their work ethic and ethos, are they working the gifts and talents that has been given them? They are not. They want God to open the door or somebody else's reputation to open the door. Well, the New Living Translation, a better way. Giving a gift can open doors. It gives access to important people. So your gift will unlock your presence, because when you are focused on your ability, giving that gift to society and your fellow man, and putting your time and effort and focus into honing that gift, that is what unlocks destiny. So by tapping into your gifts and talents that God gave us, along with practicing and learning, we unlock our destiny here on the earth. And so just a warning, the door only unlocks when you focus on the gifts that you have and you work those gifts to become better at it. In conclusion, I want to give a summary and a testimony. We all have a stick in our hand, something that we think is useless. But the very thing that God gave us, our birthright, our gift and talent and ability, that's unique to us, that we're operating where we're very strong, that we maybe overlook because it's so effortless for us. And when we criticize others that can't do the same on our level, that's actually the gift that God will work through our life to unlock our life, that we can be blessed, have prosperity, and walk the plan of God in our lives. You have to focus on your gift, because that is what unlocks your life. And stop focusing on everybody else's gift and talents. Some of us were given one gift, some of us were given 5, some of us were given 10. But if I'm faithful in stewarding the gift that God gave me, He will increase my gift and give me more gifts, which will unlock my life. I met somebody for counseling, and they told me they've been through a very bad divorce and they needed money. And she said to me, she's learning how to trade gold. And I asked her, how long have you been doing it? She said, I've been doing it for about 6 months. I said to her, is it going well? She says, I'm actually losing a lot of money. It's caused such a lot of stress, it's upsetting my life. Then I started asking her a little bit of questions to find out about her background. And she actually loves animals and anything about animals. So I said to her, have you ever considered opening a pet store or doing a pet-related service? And she said, well, I wanted to do a grooming service, but I didn't think it was serious enough. And so I let it go. I said to her, do you like animals? She says, I love animals. It just doesn't feel like work to me. Other people don't like washing them and clipping their nails and combing them, but I come alive. Those were her words. So I explained this teaching to her that you hear her today. And I encouraged her to let go of the get-rich-quick schemes and things that's not natural to you, that you find difficult to operate in. And she went and opened a successful grooming service, and it made her very wealthy. But better yet, she's walking God's plan and purpose for her life. And so, Discover God's Plan and Purpose is a course that we have. It's available on Coursely. We also have the USB stick that teaches you how to find out what are your giftings and what God destined you for. So I just want to encourage you, as time is very short. We don't have a lot of time yet, 7 years maybe, less or a little bit more, but not much. if you are going to try holding on to somebody else's giftings or a quick get-rich-quick scheme or do something else that's not in the talents and ability that God gave you, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard and you're not going to have joy. Now, I don't know about you, but I need joy. The world has gone upside down. It's hard and it's going to get harder. Everybody always asks me, why are you happy? I'm living in my ikigai.
Yeah.
I get to teach people, I get to work with technology, and I get to minister. Those are the things that are my strengths. And so people say to me, but all these things happen to you. Don't you ever get sad? No, I'm in my swim lane. I'm in my slipstream. The current is taking me and it's also protecting me from what's happening around me. And so if you want to wake up to God's call for your life and you want to discover happiness, a blessing, and success in, why don't you focus on the talents and the giftings and ask the giver of the gifts to help you navigate them and steward them correctly, that he can grow what he gave you, that you can also get to the other side. Thank you for watching. God bless.